We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Kaizen, good morning. Welcome. The Easter surprise was up and then down. It never is what you think it is. I'm going to tell you why this decline looks horrible, but won't last more than, say, 2 or 3 days. That said, volatility is in order. However, volatility and dips are your friends. Take advantage of them while you can. Going forward, they may be shallower than you think, even if the market is choppy. That's my opinion. We'll do some live TA. I've shortened the news. We'll do PowerPoint, and I'm trying to leave enough time at the end for like live TA and requests. I'm trying to get that feature up there for you guys. All right, welcoming Kristat. Kita Sira, how about that? That's my attempt. Mahet, Riyadh, Felix, stay ho. Riyadh, welcome. Lisa, good morning. Dil Capio, Oswaldo, Stefan, right? I know you wanted the God candle up. We got the up day and then the down day. It's never what you think it is. Sean, Felix, Miguel, good morning. Jorge, Crypto Steph, Ale, Cosmos. Okay. Today I have a pen and I'm writing it down. My sense is the Cosmos and the polka dots, you're going to want to be long if they really smack the market down. Okay. Let's do news. Okay, $1 trillion in institutional money is flooding into Bitcoin. So I actually got on CoinDesk News this morning, and the news anchor at the end of it looks at me and goes, I need a price prediction for Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, how about 100K by the end of the year? And she's always like, no one will give me a price prediction. This is a combo TradFi crypto show. In my mind, and I should have made the joke on the air, I'm like, listen, if you're on YouTube and you don't have a price prediction, you don't have a show, right? I mean, Brian, when he does his small cap stuff, he gives you some kind of clue as to where he thinks it's going. So it's amazing that people are still so hesitant in legacy. So this morning, they were all in a big hurry to smack Bitcoin down on old news about inflation. It's like, oh my God. And I know inflation is serious, but I still think the bigger problem is twofold. One, legacy is underinvested in Bitcoin. And two, the Fed and everybody is focused on inflation where they should be focused on a deterioration in the unemployment picture. Okay. So $1 trillion to flood into Bitcoin price among strong institutional flows, according to Bank of America. Legacy loves to buy high and sell higher. Investors, I like this. Investors are focused overwhelmingly on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies over other cryptocurrencies, says BlackRock. Okay, well, obviously it's good that everybody is, wants to get super long Bitcoin, but isn't it interesting that they're ignoring the rest of the market? They're ignoring the rest of the market. So like your Solanas, even ETH. I think it's absurd to be ignoring ETH at these levels. I think ETH is getting close to taking a rocket move up relative to Bitcoin. It's just a question of, when does this interest rate dollar thing calm down, which frankly, excuse my language, it sucks, right? Because this inflation number was bad. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But the fact that everybody is ignoring the future of money, the future of tech. I mean, like people focus on Bitcoin and ignore Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin Cash goes up 40%. What goes up? What no one owns, what no one likes, and no one understands. Okay, so Bitcoin becomes more volatile than Ethereum. Wow, we really are in some sort of strange crypto parallel universe. Bitcoin's 30-day volatility, right? They plug it into a statistical model and they say, how volatile is it? The legacy nerd term is realized volatility. Okay. Bitcoin is more volatile than Ethereum. I don't even know if I ever thought I would see that. Frequently, once it becomes headline news, remember the fade the media doctrine. Oh, wow. Ethereum's all docile now. It's not going to move a lot. Okay. Yeah. You stick around. Stick around. Okay, just a reminder about precious metals. Okay, gold is much more rare than silver, according to this news article. The general public owns silver, and it doesn't go up, although it's going to. And of course, this is a 1 ounce of gold, right? Institutions are buying gold in the spot market. That's how you know the Fed is behind the curve. There is a looming problem with the dollar or the financial system, and the Fed is going to have to cut rates. What's the best day to talk about that? Well, when no one thinks the Fed's going to cut rates, and it looks like the bond market is going to fall out of bed, and everyone's freaking out about inflation. Now, I don't want to be an idiot and fight reality, but the next trade is where your head should be. You have to deal with reality, but the next trade is where big money is made. Not in hyper-focusing on the present, but on seeing that future, particularly in macro and in crypto, right? So what do we know? No one wants Bitcoin. Everyone wants Bitcoin. No one wants anything else. And everyone's freaking out about the dollar, okay? Meanwhile, Larry at BlackRock sees tokenization of financial assets as the next step. Keep in mind, there's going to be announcement after announcement after announcement. And I've got a new report where I'm discussing, the real world assets and DeFi, right? DeFi as in not Aave and Uniswap necessarily, but on like forming institutional type of tools in case something happens to institutions. And I don't want to be all apocalyptic, but high rates, high inflation, and problems in commercial real estate eventually create a problem. All right. Now, legacy. Disinflation narrative dies as manufacturing PMI shows prices soaring most in 20 months. Okay. Don't they love their jargon in legacy? So if you're new to crypto and economics, let me help you out with this. So disinflation means inflation will persist but slow down. Okay. That's not what's happening. Manufacturing PMIs are a reflection of what producers of, say, steel are paying for raw materials. Okay. They show prices soaring the most in 20 months. Now, keep in mind, there's been a geopolitical disturbance with shipping in the Red Sea. It was reported a lot in the beginning, but it's actually severe enough that the Russians are sending warships. I have no idea what supply chain disruptions, how the Fed can impact supply chain disruptions, but the legacy market has a betting mechanism for when the Fed will cut rates in June, when the Fed will cut rates at various points in the future. So the odds of a June rate cut just fell to 50% from 75% because they can't do it when the inflation data is bad. All right, but they may have to do it if the problem emerges in the banking system because interest rates are just too high, which is why basically you give me a 4 to 8% dip in anything in crypto, and I want to take it. Now, maybe the dip lasts 3 days, maybe it lasts 5, maybe it lasts 1. Think buy the dip in crypto. If you're experiencing pain on day 1 of a 3-day dip, your position might be too big. All right. Joe Rogan's podcast audience is the highest of all listened to podcasts. Why is this relevant? Well, I don't know if you noticed this, but the administration came out with a very interesting kind of political announcement, event, holiday to coincide with Easter. And you got to start wondering when you see that kind of stuff, whether or not that's supposed to be a distraction. It has to be because it was so ridiculous, right? Free speech and equal protection under the law is, of course, what we want for everybody. But when they do that around like kind of a religious holiday, right, you got to ask yourself, what are they doing? Because you got to know the Joe Rogans of the world who have got a huge audience are going to be on TV questioning it. So are they dividing us? That's not dollar positive. Are they distracting us from something much bigger? right? Speaking of much bigger, I believe somewhere in here, like every day, like NATO nations hit by GPS attack blamed on Russia. And then 2 days ago, allegedly the Chinese hacked the ship that suddenly turned and knocked down a bridge. You know, I might have believed the Chinese hacked the barge. I might have believed that until, oh, wow, we have another cyber attack like 2 days later. I don't know. I don't think that's how spy agencies work, where they do like, hey, guys, let's do back-to-back cyber attacks so it really looks like us. It's a distraction. A distraction from what? Okay. So when everyone's selling and everyone's losing their mind about inflation, which, you know, we're going to look at the charts and I'm going to be balanced, but a distraction from what? Right? Maybe it's a distraction from Bitcoin going to 100K. Okay. Now, something on the economics front that matters, because I think they're going to get found out on this. The administration's job numbers are an April Fool's joke. According to the Philly Fed, which is, you know, they have a lot of indices. It's a smart branch of the Fed. They estimate that 800,000 jobs are not real. Okay, that's about half the jobs allegedly created last year. I mean, this is pretty bad considering Washington flooding $6 trillion in spending into the economy that's not creating jobs. Meanwhile, the actual economy is going nowhere. Nowhere. This is what you should be talking about. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate, right? Their mandate is to both fight inflation and make sure unemployment doesn't get too high. Now, there is an inflation problem. We all know this. It's old news. The unemployment problem, the fact that nobody can get a full-time job in the United States, and it's been this way for 3 months. You can get a part-time job. They're creating those by the hundreds of thousands, but nobody can get a real full-time job. Period. And that's probably, sadly, only going to get worse, which means that when it comes time for the Fed to cut rates, they're going to have to cut. So when they're selling crypto and they're selling Bitcoin and everyone's like, oh my God, the dollar's above 105. Okay. That's your trade today, buddy. You can have your trade today. We don't want to fight the market or be irresponsible or dogmatic, but the game is to find a support point and a dip. Okay. All right. Let's welcome who else is here, right? We have SG is here. Welcome. Kenneth, Malik, David. Okay. Oh my God. Kita Sira lets me know that I pronounced it right. And she would like a chart on Moonwell. I will write that down and see if I can find it. Okay. Now let's unshare the screen. Write down Moonwell for the person who's first on every single stream. And I appreciate that. Okay. And now let's look at PowerPoint. Let's look at your market update. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's your inflation headline. All right. Now, this is long-term government bonds. Not to gore you with economics, but long-term bonds are very sensitive to inflation. Inflation hurts the purchasing power of money. Okay. Long-term bonds give you a lot of money over time. So when you do finance calculations, long-term bonds wind up the most sensitive to changes in inflation. So this chart is rather ugly. This is ugly, right? Bonds down. This is long-term bond futures, ZB in TradingView. You know, bonds down, Bitcoin down. So if bonds fall out of bed and this is a bear flag, well, then we got a problem, right? Any good analyst is going to do what's called risks to the view. The risk to an ongoing positive view in crypto, or the risks to an ongoing positive view in highly speculative Meme coin cryptos is this. And I will tell you this right now. If this continues, right? If ZB, right? If the bond market freaks out about inflation, causing long-term interest rates to rise, listen to me, all speculative assets get wrecked. Now, one thing that I have been saying aggressively to anybody who's been asking me is that you want to use profits from highly speculative coins, that's your WIF, etc., and start moving the profits, right? You can take them slowly, you can take them all at once, and start moving that stuff into the future of money, your Bitcoin, your ETH, your Render, right? Your ICP, your Doge, right? You want to start moving money from that class of assets and rotate over here. Now, I didn't think we'd have to worry about the bond market, but guess what? We now have to worry about the bond market. And if this continues, you could have some of this highly speculative stuff down 50, 60%. Keep in mind, we do have a solar eclipse coming up, and a lot of volatile, crazy stuff can happen. I thought that was up. Okay, maybe that's not up today because of this. And maybe it's not up at all. So if you got highly speculative assets, right? If you're going cowboy altcoin and you got profits, I strongly suggest you start, not investment advice, but you start making sure that you either got enough capital to buy dips and whatever it is you like. And if meme coins are down 20%, you didn't sell the top, no one sells the top. Make sure you can rotate, because when this market rotates from memes to the regular market, two things will happen. One, it won't be orderly. The tree will shake. You don't want to get shaken out of the tree. So if you got to move money from speculative assets, holding cash from one day, and then getting Bitcoin and ETH, etc., we can go through some etceteras like real world assets. You want to do it. Okay, dollar index, possibly the most annoying thing I've seen in a long time. At this thing, which will not give it up, which is so typical, right? I remember crypto before the FTX down move. Man, crypto wanted to go up for 2 months. I wanted to go up, 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 up. And then it was like, oh, gee, there's a huge problem. And then it collapsed. We're doing the same thing with the dollar. It's like, oh, no rate cuts, oh, rate hikes, oh, inflation, oh, old news. But they're buying it, so crypto's down. And what can I say, right? This could be a head and shoulders bottom. This could be a bigger dollar down move. Nobody wants to hear that in crypto. I get it. Highly speculative assets may have topped. Like the most speculative, ridiculous stuff may have come to an end. That may have been your Easter surprise. Sector rotation is always in order, but it may be in order now because of this inflation number. Now let's take a look at meme coins. So this is a 90-minute DeMark chart of WIF. Now, I don't have DeMark analysis for everything, only really if it's on like Binance or a big exchange. And even in that case, I don't have a huge history, but a lesson in DeMark, right? So here's your 13 top signal. You don't get much of a drop, but then you get a blow off top. These dotted lines are drawn by this automated system saying if there's a blow off top, this is where it should go, which is where WIF went. Then WIF goes down, makes this 9 signal, and then it has a rally that fails, which in English means possible trend continuation, which means possible additional correction. Now, maybe WIF stops. Ironically, the cat coin that I liked, WIF, has the 13 bottom. It's got exactly the opposite signal on the 90-minute chart, which I think is funny. So maybe it's a rotation from dogs to cats. In any case, you want to make sure that you got profits, you got money, whether it's profits from something else or just money in general, to be able to deploy. Just saw a Discord message from Brian saying, hey, today's discount shopping day. And it might be. Because remember, you got a payroll number coming up on Friday. Everyone's like, inflation, inflation, inflation. Everyone's going to freak out. Media is going to be, oh my God, inflation. And then this unemployment report's going to come out. Right? And then if it's phony baloney, they can only release so many phony baloney employment numbers before someone picks up on it. Okay, let's take a look at ETH. No one wants to look at ETH. I want to look at ETH. You know, I thought ETH was going to blow through 3,900, and it didn't. So I guess now we're in a range between these two sets of automatically drawn dotted lines by the quantitative system. I know the trading guys love to find ranges. Right now, it's in the middle of the range, and support's maybe down there at 3,300. So I guess if things get terrible, that's where ETH can go. I don't think so, but that's where the support is, and my job is to read the chart, help you read the charts. Now, this is Solana. Solana is actually doing us a favor by topping today. Solana was headed for both a 13 and a 9 top, so there was going to be a dip in Solana anyway. I just thought the dip was going to occur from like 260. It got to 210 or 200 and then came off. So we got 2 or 3 days of Solana going sideways. To me, that's just fine. Unless, of course, it accelerates lower, then we're going to have to make some adjustments. Now, one of the reasons why I'm not freaking out is because I think Ethereum versus Bitcoin may be making some kind of like semi-permanent bottom. ETH versus Bitcoin is 1 day or 1 bar away on a 4-hour chart from a DeMark bottoming signal. Remember that news article? Like, oh, Ethereum's gone to sleep. Ethereum's boring now. Ethereum doesn't move anymore. Okay. That's exactly what people say right before Ethereum erupts. And the payroll number is coming. So today, everyone's like, oh, yeah, the inflation number. But on Friday, right, they're going to be talking about unemployment. Right. And I have no idea where the full-time jobs are. I mean, this has like been the biggest fabrication. One of the biggest fabrications of the administration is that these numbers have just been off for a while. Okay. ICP has a 13 top. Artificial intelligence, anything that's going into these super coins. What are we looking for? Well, you're going to get a dip. It's happening. You have a top signal. We have a top signal. Now the question is, does the top signal create a real top? Is ICP going to just like avalanche lower? If it doesn't, okay, what are some of the most bullish things that are out there? Top signals that don't work. Now, with this, again, if there are profits in highly speculative coins, you might want to take them. Because if this does dip hard, you want to be able to get in over there in this and any of these AI coins, because AI is completely underpriced relative to legacy. Now, Bitcoin, okay, this is my analog. I kind of wanted that one last final push to a new high to 77K. I didn't get it, but I'm going to hold out hope headed into the unemployment number. Total crypto market cap, same thing, right? I want to raise the possibility that Brian is right and this is a 1-day dip. It's like, hey, time to go shopping. I mean, the guy's just hot, right? And I'm thinking something similar. It's like, hey, you got to shop when the market is down, even if you have to move money from something ridiculous or something silly or something you caught the whole world doubting it, like WIF. Congratulations. If you rode that thing, amazing. Really, I'm serious. Amazing. But now you got ammo to go somewhere else. And if total crypto market cap turns around in 2 days and goes to 2.8 trillion, dips may be limited, even if they're scary. Every dip is scary. I mean, for a legacy nerd like me, remember how I got all wound up about the yen? Now, that was something to get wound up about. So is what's going on with bonds. That's scary too. But you got paid to ignore the yen, and you may get paid to ignore this inflation thing. That's kind of a cowboy attitude, but that's paid you in crypto. Okay, total 2, which depends on ETH. I don't know, maybe more of a range, maybe, but there's a ramp somewhere in here. Maybe it's near the Bitcoin halving. I just cannot give up on ETH. Institutions don't care about gas fees and real world asset products. Somebody brought up Maple on the show, right? I got 4 mid-cap RWA coins. BlackRock, no one has asked, and I told CoinDesk this morning, no one has asked why BlackRock wants to tokenize assets. No one has asked why, DeFi coins that do options, DeFi coins that do things that Wall Street does, all mooned off BlackRock. Or why even boomer coins that do security tokens like Raven and Polymesh, stuff that was around in 2017, was mooning prior to today. No one is asking why Larry is in such a hurry. Could there be a problem with the banks? Total crypto market cap. This is total altcoin market cap. I'm okay with a grinding upward sloping range until the halving. So is this a disaster? Not really. As long as it keeps like it's back and forth, maybe with a little upward slope, I think that's when you get your takeoff in Solana or Ethereum. And in the meantime, you may just have to deal with the chop. But sector rotation is still the name of the game. So I wrote this report recently. This is a guy, his name is Bernard Connolly. He was featured in an article in the English newspaper, The Telegraph. It's called, I can't even say this on YouTube, Central Banks and the Murder of Capitalism. You always hurt the ones you love. Okay. This guy is essentially writing that the Fed is so behind the curve and knows it on rate cuts. They cannot sustain rates at 5%. The government's insolvent. The banks are insolvent. Nobody can survive with rates at 5%. And the extent to which these guys have screwed up is so epic that even though he's saying they've screwed up, they're still consulting him on what to do. So he's criticizing them, and they're talking to this guy as a consultant. I ordered my copy of the book. I can't even find it. Let's hope it comes in. It's 500 pages about how they've screwed up so badly since the 90s. I'm sure I'm going to read 20 pages in this book, and I'm going to just pick up my phone and just mark it by everything after reading 20 pages. I'm hoping I can turn this into, educational products that will help benefit you guys. Okay. Let's see who's here. Okay. So we have some requests. Okay. Yes, I have a little Doge. I'm not a whale, but yes, I have Doge. Like basically meme coins. I have one that is super silly and ridiculous. It's like, I don't know. It's like playing bingo or play money. And then I have Doge, right? Okay, let's go to live TA. This is definitely a live TA kind of day. And my producer will be shocked that I'm sharing screen. All right, so let's start with Cosmos. All right, now you're probably wondering, what do you do on days like today? So obviously I wanted 1206 to hold in Cosmos, and that's not happening. So a lot of times I like to go to like tactical time frames and just see what I can find. Okay, so this, I'm going to label it. So hopefully it's not just about Cosmos, right? This is about, like what can you do? Or what do you do? All right. So the first thing that just catches my mind here. Oh, look at this. Boom. Okay. So Cosmos at 11.5. This is the 62% retracement of the most recent move up. Now, as a rule of thumb, if something holds the 62% retracement, now let's look at the candles. Okay. So what do they love to do? What do they love to do? They love to run stops below any relevant technical level, probably make it look terrible, and then bring it back later. Most likely after they're getting done being hysterical about old news. So yes, the market is down. Yes, it trades terrible, but it always trades terrible. If it's a bottom, it always trades terrible. Like, I mean, did the market trade bad when WIF and when were like right before Easter or on Easter? It was like, oh my God, CoinDesk is like, hey, what do you know about meme coins? Actually, they even asked me like, hey, do you know anything about this coin degen or the base narrative? Should have known that that's when the market was going to correct, right? When the media is like, what's degen? You know, Brian's going to wind up on the evening news when he explains degen to everybody, right? So the media is out there chasing narratives. Everyone was chasing meme coins and then they got caught. It happens all the time. Doesn't trade bad at the top. It doesn't trade good at the bottom. Okay. Moonwell. Let me see if I can find it on TradingView. Oh, there it is on KuCoin. Okay, so we have a tactical chart here. Okay, now the first thing I notice is whatever that I drew, it didn't work. I know that's sometimes shocking, but okay. So this is one version of a trend line going on in this. All good trend lines have 3 points. So if this is a good trend line, this should not be too far away from a bottom. Now, if this is not a good trend line, it's below the 38% retracement. You could have a bigger correction to the 62% retracement at 0.037. And this is when I talk to you, like I could get on the live stream and say, oh yeah, this is close to a bottom right now. Everything's going to bottom right this second. It could. But if it doesn't, you need to know where it can go. Because this is why I'm like, rotate. Everyone's like, when do I rotate? Well, when it looks like it's going to the moon, that's when you rotate, right? Like arrow. Okay, now let's do some fib stuff on this. See what we get. Whoops. All right. I'm going to go to the 4-hour chart on this. Okay. So here's arrow, right? And now we're on a 4-hour chart and we need to find something. Because you're like, I'm in arrow, I'm upset, tell me something. All right. So let me tell you something. All right. So this is the Fibonacci extension work I'm going to put up here. Fibonacci extension is used for things that are parabolic and crazy. Okay. Wow. Look at that. A nice support point in arrow at 1.34. That Brian's going to be all over that. See, that's how you know a guy's hot. When the guy's like, you know, he can tell just because he's hot that, hey, I want to buy this dip without seeing the chart. And maybe he's got the chart. It's interesting that in arrow, they pulled up short of a resistance at $2.11 because they were afraid of $2. So part of me is like, you know what? If you missed arrow and you want to take a shot, they'll take a shot. Take a shot, right? You got to get these markets when they're down, particularly, in my opinion, since they're down on old news. And you know what? I know this is not funny, but I used to work with a guy who used to say, this is my view, and if I'm wrong, I'll lose money. As in, so what? Now what? I'll do another trade. But, you know, everybody was like at $2. I'm like, oh my God, I missed it. Now it's at $1.34. No one wants it. Right? You got to buy it when they hate it. Somebody was asking about Chainlink the other day. I'm a big fan of having the cross-chain narrative in your portfolio. If you want to do Chainlink, that's cool. Okay, so when I look at Chainlink on a 4-hour basis, you know, I don't know where this is going to stop, but if it does, this could be a diamond. Let me tell you something. Diamonds are some of the most difficult to trade, yet simultaneously, like, it's one of the most powerful formations in TA. Very few things that are diagonal work in crypto. This is theoretically one of them. And so help me. Like if you got chain link, right? The second chain link stops going down here, I mean, the only way this is not going to be eventually interesting is if chain link takes out this low. That would be quite the decline. But chain link, look at the horizontal. I mean, this was a ceiling, this was a ceiling, and then they keep banging on it. How many times are they going to bang on it? And what happens if they can't break it? And then they break out of the top part of the diamond. When you break out of a diamond and you have a sustained breakout, particularly if it breaks out and then goes, I realize we're getting ahead of ourselves, but if you have like a breakout out of a direction of the diamond and it keeps going, so if they want to sell you chain link at 17 something or just below 18, down 6%, headed into this unemployment number, take it from them. I used to work with a guy who say, make him sell it to you at a good price. Make him sell it to you at a good price. Okay, someone asking about Doge, XRP. So happy I left time at the end of the show. Hopefully you guys like this. Okay, so, XRP, I'm starting to see the level of pain that people are putting up with this because, it sits in these rounding formations and it just doesn't move. My original thinking on XRP was that it was going to be something that moved in December. It was going to be like literally the last thing to move in the cycle. I'm having a hard time bringing myself to sell XRP at 57 cents, only because different forms of money, unless Ripple just continues to sell. I mean, this is why I can't bring myself to just panic give up on XRP, because different forms of money are rallying. Now, which different forms of money are rallying? Well, very simply, the ones that no one owns, which in this case would be Bitcoin Cash. Resistance is at 714. Everyone owns XRP. No one owns Bitcoin Cash. Now, if someone owns XRP, they're like, Bill, you're not helping me. I'm like, okay, this is your choice in XRP. You may have to wait until the end of the year. You may. I mean, that formation that I just put up on XRP is a rounding bottom. Sometimes these things stay in rounding bottom formations for a long time. I'm going to say something shocking. I actually don't know. Right. But part of the pain with XRP is that these YouTube guys, they catered to this crowd who was looking for an SEC protest trade. And now that the SEC protest trade is over, no one really understands why they're long XRP. They just know that they are. XRP is a fast form of money. And when the Fed starts to cut rates, right, because there's a problem in the banking system, someone will turn to XRP to get on chain. Stellar, all these coins. Is that happening right now? No. Rates of a Fed rate cut just fell, right? Chances of a Fed rate cut just fell. I think XRP needs Fed rate cuts. That's my feeling on XRP. XRP needs speculative juice to completely come back into the market. Okay, Avalanche, I know that the Kaizen trading guy, who is obviously a very capable individual, is into Avalanche. Let me get something different up here. Okay, so in Avalanche, it may be this simple. 50, basically. 50. Avalanche is like broke a high and is now just sitting there. And now everybody is falling over themselves to sell it into resistance that's now become a floor. I mean, like what? I mean, you would only sell Avalanche if it crashed below 50 and stayed there. Like if it went down back to 50, failed, then you would dump it. This is just running stops. I mean, they're literally selling it to you on support, on old news. I mean, it's not trivial news, but it's not new news. I mean, anybody who's been to the grocery store knows that inflation is not under control. It's not. But, again, what is the Fed going to do about that? Raise rates to 6% and break the whole banking system? No. They have to get rates away from 5% as soon as possible. They just do. They do. Otherwise, I don't know how you're going to refinance $71 trillion in global government debt. So everyone who's selling Avalanche at 50 on old news, like I always say, don't let them scare you out. If they stop you out, they stop you out. But if they don't stop you out, don't, even though I know it's scary. I'm not trying to tell you it's not scary. I've been through this. I've seen this. I've been long out the wazoo, prior cycles, looking at these things drop. And I'm like, oh my God, my position is too big. And I puke the whole thing out. Everything I tell you not to do, I've done 20 times in my life. Okay. AGIX. Okay, so I'm playing around with Fibonacci extension levels. It just happened to catch one of my new experimental charts. I'm showing support in AGIX right here at $1.17. Once again, everybody in a big hurry to sell this. This is going to be the cornerstone. This guy's going to be the Steve Jobs of the next big new coin, and they can't sell it fast enough. If $1.16 holds as support, or maybe $1.15, then I think you have to take note. You have to take note and expect this thing to turn around and go higher. Okay, you're getting a big move as you would expect. I thought it would be higher. It's lower. Let's see if support holds. Okay, bull markets are not easy. They're always trying to scare you out. All right, I'm going to try to do two quick ones. V-Chain. Okay, so this is a 4-hour chart of V-Chain, and the best case scenario is this. I'm seeing this a lot. The question is, where does V-Chain stop? So it looks like in order for V-Chain to go up, it has to go down first. I know that's kind of counterintuitive. All right, the other thing I'm going to say about V-Chain, even though I'm a big fan, it is a coin from the last cycle. I'm not hating on V-Chain. It's just a moment to remind you, trade this cycle, not the last one. I don't know if that applies to V-Chain, but it does apply. Trade this cycle, not the last one. Okay, Rari. Okay, so for these NFT coins, if that's what this is, I do like Rarible. I do like it. I'm actually looking at Flow. Flow might be better. Right? And it's tough with these things when they get this parabolic. All right, let's try a tactical look. Okay, so this was an old ceiling like right here. So I'm not seeing the big case to sell this, to puke it out. If anything, I don't know. It kind of looks like a buy. See, they got quite the dance going on around a 38% retracement level at 422. And that's very typical, right? You get a parabolic move up. And then after you get the parabolic move up, you get a 1X, you get chop, right? People rush in at the top and then they wind up puking it out. Again, if you have bad news, you'll know if it's old news, if stuff holds. If stuff doesn't hold and the bond market goes to pieces, you're going to get stopped out. But have you been paid to puke things out into weakness? Unless it's some like massively speculative coin that mooned out of nowhere, right? It has not paid. It has not paid to buy meme coins up 100% most of the time. And it is not paid to puke things on a 10% down move. It has not. Okay, last one, Fetch. Okay, again, in these AI coins, especially the ones that are involved in this super merger. Okay. All right. So in Fetch, I have to be honest. The fact that it made this big new high and momentum indicators did not follow is a recipe for a major washout. So you do have to be careful in this. Okay. That said, let's just see if we got any support that is meaningful. So it looks like Fetch is headed for the 62% retracement at 278. So if I'm drawing the same thing as everyone else, they take this down to 278, run the stops and bring it back, then maybe that daily chart, maybe it's bucking the divergence. I've seen that in strong trends. If you take out 278, you best take that seriously. Right? But generally speaking, if these things like really get hammered, this is why I want to have capital to be able to like swoop in and grab it. It's like, this is like the future. Now, people may have gotten way too enthusiastic up here and they're getting washed out. Okay. So it's a dip. It's ugly. Everyone wants a dip and then they get one and then they don't like it. I understand that. I get it. Okay. Okay. Let's try this question. What do you think a top out on a meme coin like Higher would be? Figuring out the hypothetical highest potential for meme coins has always been different for me. Okay, so rather than pulling up a specific chart, the $64 question that everyone is asking me is, when do I sell? Okay, so as I have pointed out, if you look at a meme coin and say, should I sell? You probably should. If you look at your P&L and you go, wow, this is a lot of money, you should sell. If you're Euphoria and you want to drink champagne and wear a lampshade on your head, you should definitely sell. If it shows up in the media, you should sell. Also, with meme coins, as these things rise higher and higher and higher, the all or nothing mentality comes into play. Like, I have to be all the way in or all the way out. No, you don't. Meme coin goes up 20%, take 5% of your profits. Meme coin goes up another 20%, take 10% of your profits. And the guy that taught me how to trade said the last lot that goes out, the last section that'll go out, it'll probably go out at the high. But fortunes are made by buying low and paying yourself by taking profits in increments. Now, I'm going to go into the TA of all that at some point, but there's no automatic way to sell the high. That's what everyone wants to do in meme coins. Like, they want to ride it in case it's 1000x, and then they want to all sell at the high. No one sells at the high. The definition of the high is a complete absence of selling. So that gradual incremental approach, the sector rotation approach, like, people, the market's down. If you have to make adjustments to your portfolio, do it now. Do it, right? It's like, okay, I didn't sell the top in X coin. Let me get out of this. Arrow is on sale. Let me go over there. So not investment advice, but there's some stuff that's up that you can unload to buy stuff that's down. And that's the market update. We'll see you tomorrow.